Right now, you could open 4 different apps, buy 4 different things, and pay for none of it today. Klarna doesn't know about Afterpay. Affirm doesn't know about Klarna. Sezzle doesn't know about either one. Each app runs its own quick check in seconds and says yes. No single company sees what you've already promised to pay somewhere else. That gap has a name. It's called loan stacking, and it's more common than you'd think. By the end of this video, you'll see the real math on what happens when 4 of those payments land in the same week, and why the risk never actually disappeared. It just stayed quiet. Here's how a typical buy now, pay later plan works. You pick something out, a coat, a mattress, a flight, and instead of paying the full price today, you pay about a quarter of it. The rest splits into 3 more payments, usually 2 weeks apart, usually with 0 interest. On paper, that's a reasonable tool. Used once in isolation, it can even help you manage a real expense without touching a credit card. The problem isn't the structure. The problem is what happens when you use it more than once, at more than one company, in the same stretch of time. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, about 53 million people, like roughly 1 in 5 adults with a credit file, used a buy now, pay later loan in a single recent year. That's not a niche habit anymore, it's mainstream. And here's the part that matters most. For years, almost none of these loans were reported to the 3 major credit bureaus, not Equifax, not Experian, not TransUnion. When you apply for a plan, the app runs a soft check. It looks at your history with that one company, sometimes a general risk score, and it decides in seconds. It is not looking at your other buy now, pay later balances, because until very recently, there was nowhere for it to look. Those balances simply weren't on file. So picture 4 separate lenders, each one asking the same private question: can this person handle one more payment plan? Each one answering yes. Each one unaware that 3 other lenders just asked that exact question and got that exact answer. No single one of them is wrong, based on what they can actually see. That's what makes this so easy to fall into. You're not lying to anyone, you're not hiding anything. The system itself was built with a blind spot, and you happen to walk through it. That blind spot is finally starting to close. FICO rolled out new scoring models in the fall of 2025 that can factor in buy now, pay later data. And a couple of the larger providers have started sending information to the bureaus. But that rollout is slow. It's optional for lenders to even use, and it still doesn't show up in the 3 seconds between you and a checkout button. The gap is narrowing. It isn't closed. Let's put real numbers on this, because the math is where it stops feeling abstract. Say you open 4 separate plans over 3 weeks in November. A coat for $220, shoes for $180, a gift for someone at $240, and something for yourself on a day that felt like it deserved a treat for $160. Each one gets approved in under a minute. Each one asks for about a quarter of the price today, then splits the rest into 3 payments, 2 weeks apart. On their own, none of these installments look dangerous. $55 here, $45 there, $40 on a Tuesday you barely remember shopping on. But these companies don't ask what day you get paid. They count 2 weeks forward from the day you bought the item, and that's when the next payment comes out. Because you bought 4 things on 4 different days, spread across 3 weeks. Their 2-week cycles don't line up with your calendar. They line up with each other. By the second half of December, 3 of those 4 plans land a payment in the same 7-day window. Quietly, automatically, straight out of your account. Add them up, and that 1 week costs you close to $180. Stacked on top of rent, on top of groceries, on top of whatever else was already due that week. Nobody sent you a warning. There was no single bill that said, this is now $180. There were 4 small, separate yes decisions, made by 4 companies that never spoke to each other. and one very real Friday when all four of them wanted paid at once. And if your checking account doesn't have that free that day, most of these apps don't just quietly fail. Many charge a late fee, and your bank may charge an overdraft fee on top of it, sometimes both within the same 24 hours. A tool built to help you avoid interest can end up costing you two separate penalties for the crime of budgeting around numbers no one ever laid out for you in one place. That's the collision. The debt itself didn't grow. It just went from spread out and invisible to concentrated and due all at once. And here's what makes this stranger than it sounds. This isn't a rare edge case or a worst-case scenario built to scare you. Recent research on buy now, pay later. Borrowers found that 63% of people who use these plans have carried more than one at the same time, and 1 in 4 have held 3 or more all at once. If that's more common than not, the real question isn't whether stacking happens. It's whether anyone, anywhere, is actually watching it happen while it does. And the honest answer is smaller than you'd expect. Stay with me, because that part is changing, just not nearly as fast as you'd think. It's worth asking why the system works this way at all. It isn't an accident. A frictionless checkout is the entire business model. If buy now, pay later required a hard credit pull and a 2-day wait, most people would just put the item back or use a card instead. The 5-second yes is the product. So these companies built their approval process to be fast, not comprehensive. A soft check doesn't dent your credit score, and it doesn't take long, but it also doesn't ask what this person owes everywhere else. It only asks whether this person has paid this company back before. For most of the time, buy now, pay later has existed. That question could only ever be answered by one company about one relationship. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's own research found that people who stack these loans take out an average of more than 6 per lender in a year. Not 6 loans total, 6 with just one provider. Multiply that across 3 or 4 apps, and you start to see how someone can end up carrying more open plans than they could count off the top of their head. None of that makes anyone careless. Each individual purchase probably felt small. The data backs that up too. The average buy now, pay later transaction is only around $135. That's not a number that trips any alarm. It's the accumulation, 4 or 5 of those small numbers landing together, that actually does the damage. If you've ever looked at your account and thought, how did this get away from me? That's usually the real answer. It's rarely one bad decision. It's several reasonable ones that were never allowed to see each other. The good news, if you can call it that, is this is starting to change. In the fall of 2025, FICO began rolling out scoring models built specifically to include buy now, pay later activity. And some of the larger providers have started sending payment data to the credit bureaus. That's genuine progress toward closing the blind spot. But read that again, slowly. It's a new model lenders can choose to use. It isn't automatic. It isn't universal yet. And it still doesn't run in the 3 seconds between you tapping pay in 4 and the app saying yes. The visibility is coming. It just isn't here yet. At the one moment it would actually matter most. The moment you're deciding whether to click. Here's what this actually costs beyond the fees themselves. Recent survey data found that 47% of buy now, pay later users have paid one of these loans late in the past year, nearly half. That number has climbed for 2 years running, not fallen. And late fees on these plans aren't small relative to the purchase. On a $50 installment, a $7 or $10 late fee is a real percentage, not a rounding error. Then there's what it does to your bank account directly. Because these payments are automatic, a missed one usually isn't really missed. It's an attempted withdrawal from an account that doesn't have enough in it, which means your bank can charge an overdraft fee on the same day the buy now, pay later company charges a late fee. 1 collision, 2 separate penalties for a debt you may have genuinely forgotten you owed. And this part is worth sitting with, because it isn't your fault and it also isn't harmless. Even as credit bureaus slowly start incorporating this data, they're starting with the negative side first. A missed or late payment is more likely to show up on your report than a perfect on-time history is to help it. So for years, the upside of using these loans responsibly stayed invisible, while the downside of one bad week is becoming visible very quickly. That's not a reason to panic over a single plan you're managing just fine. Most people using buy now, pay later for one item at a time, paid on schedule, are genuinely fine. But if you're someone who's opened more than one of these at once, and remember, 63% of users have, it's worth actually knowing what you're carrying, instead of finding out the hard way on a Friday when 4 apps all want paid at once. There's also a quieter cost that never shows up on any statement. When money leaves your account in small, disconnected pieces, it gets harder to feel in control of your own finances, even when the total amount is genuinely manageable. You're not imagining that feeling. It's a reasonable response to a system that was, quite literally, designed so you couldn't see the whole picture at once. So what actually protects you here, since the apps clearly aren't going to do it for you? Start with one place where every open plan lives. Every provider, every amount, every due date, all in the same spot. Not spread across 4 different app notifications you might not open in time. One list, written down somewhere you'll actually look at before you buy anything new. Before you say yes to a new plan, check that list against your real pay schedule. Not can I afford this today, but can I afford this? Plus everything else already on that list, on the exact days they're all due. That single habit is what catches a collision before it happens, instead of after your account is already short. Treat buy now, pay later like debt, because it is debt, even when it charges no interest. Here's a genuinely useful test. If you wouldn't put this purchase on a credit card and carry the balance for 6 weeks, don't put it on a payment plan either. The zero interest label makes it feel different. The obligation underneath it is exactly the same. And if you're going to use these plans at all, consider keeping yourself to one open plan at a time, closed out before you open the next one. That single rule removes the entire stacking problem, because there's simply nothing left to stack. None of this requires cutting up anything or swearing off a tool that, used carefully, can genuinely help you manage a real expense. It just requires treating it with the same seriousness you'd give any other loan, because that's exactly what it is. The math in this video isn't complicated. What's complicated is that no one shows it to you in one place. At the moment, you actually need to see it. That's really the whole story behind buy now, pay later stacking. Not bad decisions, just bad visibility. If this helped you look at your own accounts a little more clearly, subscribing helps this channel keep making videos like it, and it takes about 2 seconds. A quick like on your way out helps more than you'd think too. And if you think someone in your life might be juggling more than one of these plans right now, sharing this with them could save them a genuinely rough Friday. I'd honestly like to know, how many open buy now, pay later plans do you have right now? And did you know the exact number before watching this? Drop it in the comments, even if that number surprises you a little. You're not alone in it. You can also find the channel on Instagram and TikTok, linked below, for more of this in between videos. And if you'd like a simple way to actually track every plan you have, open in one place instead of trusting your memory for it, the channel also has a shop on Gumroad, with a few tools that might help. Links in the description. Either way, thank you for spending 15 minutes on your own numbers today. That's not nothing.